So, here I am sitting with Katsuji and Julia Asano in the beautiful Asano Taiko. Don't laugh, you guys. It's not. What's up, Taiko family and friends? My name is Walter Nishinaka, and you're watching Taiko Trade Talks, a series that features North American Taiko pioneers as we sit down and highlight the personal and financial aspects of having a career in Taiko. Today, I sit down with Julia and Katsuji Asano, the founders of Asano Taiko U.S. and the Los Angeles Taiko Institute. Asano Taiko U.S. is based in Torrance, California, where they have an in-store shop where you can buy bachi, drums, and percussion instruments. They also have the Los Angeles Taiko Institute, which is a series of classes that you can take, led by a team of taiko players that Asano U.S. has. In this episode, I sat down with Julia and Katsuji Asano to discuss the history of Asano Taiko U.S. and the Los Angeles Taiko Institute. We also discussed how classes were created at LATI and the impact that Asano Taiko U.S. has on the taiko community. We'll start with Katsuji. So if you could just give us a quick intro on who you are, just name and what you do.
My name is Katsuji Asano, CEO of Asano Taiko U.S.
And my name is Julia Asano. I'm Katsuji's wife.
Nice. So, got that out of the way. So the hardest question's done. But, we're here in a taiko studio. We're surrounded by drums, and it's a space where people can take classes, and we can buy, we can purchase, and everything. How did this start? Because we have Los Angeles Taiko Institute, right? So if you can give me kind of a brief history on LATI and just how all of this started, that'd be awesome.
Okay. じゃあ日本語でジャパニーズ。ラティの紹介をする前に、ラティの母体大元の浅野太鼓 US がスタートするところから話をしたいと思います。
So before we start talking about LATI, LATI is part of Asano Taiko U.S. So he wants to start off by talking about how Asano Taiko U.S. started.
OK。浅野太鼓 US を作るにあたって、ジュリアと結婚して、アメリカの太鼓のコミュニティを見ることができて、ビジネスとしてやっていけるんじゃないかっていう思いがあったので、漠然とした形をうちの父親に相談しました。
So I married Julia, who's from the U.S. and was in the American Taiko community. And because of her, I was able to see the U.S. Taiko community and started thinking I want to start business in the U.S. And I asked my father, Akitoshi Asano, about this idea.
でうちの父親は日本で太鼓の里、浅野太鼓楽器店を作り上げて、販売するだけじゃなくていろんな方向から教室やったり演奏したり、イベント企画したりっていうその、大きななんつったらいいんだろういろんな方向からビジネスを捉えていた人です。
So my father, Akitoshi Asano, was the vice president of Asano Taiko Gakiten in Japan. And Gakiten used to just be a taiko manufacturing company. However, he started classes, he started a rental business, and he started all sorts of different services. And it became an all-service taiko company because of him. And I wanted to do something similar in the U.S.
で、うちの父親がアメリカでもそういう太鼓の里、いろんな人が集まれる場所を作った方がいいんじゃないか。特に文化がそれほど根付いていない、太鼓コミュニティが大きくないっていうことがあるのであれば、なおさらそういうみんなの集まれる場所を作った方がいいっていうアドバイスを受けました。
So I received an advice from my father saying, it would be nice to create a community, taiko community in the U.S. And and he was a great support.
で、そういう漠然とした形で教室やりたい、太鼓の集まれる場所を作りたいっていうところで、ジュリアのお兄さんユータが ちょっと相談に乗ってくれて、で彼は太鼓を教えることがやりたいと、本当にいいタイミングでお互いが必要としているものが合致したっていうのが始まりかな。
So when this idea came up, I talked to Julia's brother, Yuta Kato, about starting a whole new business in the U.S. and having taiko classes there. And Yuta was very supportive since, you know, he really liked to teach. So we invited him to work together with us.
で、ユータからクリスっていうすごい素晴らしい太鼓の教える先生がいるっていうのも紹介してもらって、クリスとユータと、我々で太鼓のクラス組織を作ろうっていう話から始まりました。
And Yuta recommended bringing Chris Bergstrom over. So we asked Yuta and Chris to be a part of our new business. So yeah, we
So
started
Chris
together.
and Yuta were the first.
Instructors.
インストラクターです。で、
Very
今の形からは想像できないんですが、本当に一人から始まって、先生2人に生徒1人っていう状態から始まって、ゼロから本当にここまで作り上げてきてくれたのはユータだったりクリスだったり、本当に我々だけじゃない力がたくさんサポートしてもらったかなって。
Yeah, in the very beginning when we started, like some of the classes, we only had one student. So it was like a one-on-one class. Yuta with one student, Chris with one student. That's where we started. We started from zero. In the beginning, we probably only had about 10, 15 students total. But yeah, but with the support of Yuta and Chris, we're now, we've become a big community.
So we'll touch back on that, but before we continue, we heard Katsuji's side of the business of how it started, but let's hear your side because a lot of it, you know, you had a lot to do with it because you were, you know, the American side of it. So, you know, if I can hear your side of the Asano Taiko U.S. story.
Yeah, it's different compared to Katsuji's. So what I want to make clear is that it was Katsuji's idea to come to the U.S. So a lot of people around me say, oh, maybe Julia didn't like living in Japan when she got married. Maybe Katsuji felt bad, so maybe that's why he's like, oh, let's go to the U.S.
I get it, though.
You know, for Julia.
You could only live without tacos for like a few years, so
Right.
I get it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, I did experience, you know, like difficult times while I lived in Japan. But when I got married, I told myself, oh, I'm going to be living in Japan forever. So I was ready to live in Japan forever. However, I think it was only about a year before we actually started our business, he brought up the idea to me saying, do you think it would be a good idea to go to the U.S. and start a taiko business? And first thing I said, I was like, no. I was against it, honestly. The reason was because mainly the language barrier I was worried about. I'm bilingual. I speak Japanese, and I'm fine living in Japan. But the cultural differences, I guess. There's, you know, so many things that I experienced when I lived in Japan, and I'm able to speak Japanese, but I did experience things, you know. So I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. You're gonna be struggling a lot. Yeah. So I told him, I was like, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think we should do it. But I think he already was, he was like, no, we should do it. Like, we're going to go. And then we actually moved, I think, a year later. And we had this facility a year later. We had Yuta and Chris as well. It happened so fast.
No, I mean, that's awesome. And, you know, I think I could speak for most of North American taiko when I say that I am so thankful that you guys have this business in the U.S. I mean, you know, when I started, the way you got bachi was somebody had to go visit Japan and bring a bunch back. But now I could jump in the car, take the 405 for an hour, and I'm here hanging out with you guys and buying whatever I need.
Oh, it takes an hour for you too.
Yeah, it's LA. Everywhere takes an hour. But no, seriously, I hope you guys know how appreciative everybody is that you guys are here and that you guys did what you did. I mean, it's a huge move. You know, with what you were saying, it's there's a lot of difficulties. There's a lot of cultural differences that just sometimes things don't work in Japan like they work in America and vice versa. But I'm so happy that you guys are here.
Don't cry.
You guys,
Yabai.
you guys, y'all gonna make me cry.
どうした大丈夫
やばいね。
Stop, man.
Oh no!
Oh my gosh.
あ、やばいね。ちょっと
We're good. Just know, but okay. No. Yeah. So we talked about Asano Taiko U.S. We talked about the history, the first two instructors that we had here, which is Yuta Kato and Chris Bergstrom, which I think is really cool. That's a pretty heavy hitting two instructors that you can have. And what about Lati? Like, how did the idea of Lati start? Because now, you know, you started 11 years ago. But fast forward to today, and there's so many classes. You have so many different styles of taiko that you guys are teaching. How did all of this start? Was it just like hey, we're going to do miyake today. Let's do it. Or, hey, we're going to do otaiko today. Or how does that process start? Like, you guys have a list of things that you wanted to do and then said, we got to find the best people to demonstrate it and instruct. How did that process go?
答える。
あんま覚えてないけど、多分一番大きなスタートの形を作ってくれたのがクリスだと思ってて、彼がその自由に誰でもが受けられるその誰かがどっかにいるから入れないとか、そういう太鼓の文化を彼はこう新しくしてくれるアイデアがたくさんあったのかな。それをユータが実行してくれて、ユータがこうオーガナイズしてくれたっていうのも大きいし、ほとんどがクリスのアイデアで動いてきて、その12週間でコースを始めよう。で、そのうち9週間なんだっけ ?8 週間は教えて、4週間は先生が学べるようなそういうシステムを作りたいって言った時には、まあちょっと自分たちはびっくりして、自分はびっくりして、わ、すごいなっていう、その我々には、私にはない感覚で、彼らは太鼓の文化を広めようとしてくれてるし、教えようとしてくれたらすごい情熱があったから、もうある程度形があったと思うって彼らの中にこうやりたいっていうものがあったのかな、とは思ってるね。
I have to translate.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay,
Word
so-
for word, please.
So honestly, the Lati side, we 完全に任せたよね。クリスとユタに。So yeah, we made like we let Yuta and Chris like do everything on the Lati side. But the system we had in the very beginning, I think, was Chris's idea. And then Yuta was the one who kind of organized all the classes. So they worked together and created a system. And that system was, each course was a 12-week course. And we hired coaches. Chris picked 2 coaches, Yuta picked 2. So we had 4 coaches total in the beginning. And then we made the 12-week course into a 7-week instructional course where the main instructor teaches, and then it goes into a 4-week coaching period where the coach takes over and the instructor teaches the coaches and then tells them what they covered. And then during the 4 weeks, the coach kind of like coaches the class so they can train as instructors. So, and then the last day, the final week, 12th class, the instructor comes back and then he teaches the last class. Wow. It was the very first system that we had, and which was, I think, created by Chris. Yeah.
It sounds, it's a good system, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you learn from the instructor, and then it's more of like review and reps with the
coach.
The coaches are like junior, or not junior instructors, but like instructors training.
Yeah.
And then the main instructor comes back and sees the progress from both the student
Students.
and the instructor, the coaches.
Right.
So I think that's a really cool system.
But the coaches were like very experienced
Right,
people
right,
already. It was
right.
like, can I see the names?
Sure, why
The
not?
coaches were David Wells, Jason Osajima, あれだっけ?
ジェイさん
Yuri Kanamaru, Jen Bake. Yeah. So those were the very first coaches that we had.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Taiko Trade Talks today. If you want to support Taiko Trade Talks, click the link in the description.